Typically when we talk about soil testing, we're thinking about pulling plugs out and sending them into a lab to check for the nutrition values of that soil. In this short video, we're going to be looking at a soil testing process that is quite different. One that many landscapers and farmers alike should be doing before they plant their plants, particularly perennials, woody shrubs, or trees, or even fruit trees, fruit plants. And that's conducting a Perc test. And Perc is spelled P-E-R-C, which is short basically for percolation. Percolation is the movement of water through the soil profile in a vertical pattern. So as water moves down, it percolates into the soil, and we tend to call that drainage. Oftentimes you ask somebody about drainage, oh yeah, it drains well because it's on a slope. Well, it has little to do with percolation and real good soil drainage. So I'm going to show you the process of doing a Perc test. Now, quite often Perc test refers to things that is mandatory if you're putting in a drain field for a commercial or residential septic system. But Perc test should be a process that all landscapers, and again, particularly fruit tree farmers, do before they plant their crop. The tools we would use for doing a Perc test include either a trenching spade, which is a long, narrow spade, usually about 15 inches in length as far as the blade is concerned, or the tool that I prefer is a soil auger. And the soil auger will actually, this particular one would dig a 3-foot hole without an extension on it. I could go as much as 6 foot if I were strong enough to turn it and dig that deep. But, and so I prefer this because I make one clean hole fairly quickly. And the final tool is going to be some form of measuring stick or ruler. And I tend to prefer a meter stick for our international viewers, but you can also use a yardstick. And this is actually a way to measure the water as it absorbs into the soil. And so I'm going to use the soil auger. Personally, I find a soil auger to be better than using a spade, as I can make a clean hole with a lot less effort. And so typically what I will do is dig a hole 18 to 24 inches deep, and then fill that hole up full of water, and then come back every 2 hours and see how fast it drained. Typically the reason why you're wanting to measure the water depth after you fill the water up is to determine the rate of drainage or rate of percolation. This hole was dug roughly 5 hours ago, and it's an 18-inch hole. You could go as much as 24 inches, but 18 is a good number. And if this hole was full at the time it was started and it's already down to 8 inches left of water, then we know that it has drained 10 inches. So that's roughly 2 inches per hour in that 5-hour time frame. And you want to check it roughly every 2 hours, ideally. I mean, if you skip an hour, it's not that big a deal. It's just your calculation is based on inches per hour. And if we had water standing in this hole at the end of the day or 24 hours later, then we would know that the site was poorly drained for most of the landscape plants we're using, and definitely for the fruit trees or brambles we may put into our landscape or into our orchards. So in those cases, we would say, okay, this site is poorly drained. We either modify the site, which tends to be fairly expensive, or else we choose plants that are adapted to that poorly drained condition. So this is the reason why we recommend doing a Perc test for any landscape job or any tree fruit or cane fruit project that you may be putting in on a farm.